Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is Georgia Championship Wrestling, February in 1970. And Jack's making some notes.
I'm making a list of everybody I can beat up. Roger, do you think I can beat you up? Because if not, I can take you off the list. It's no problem.
Well, it depends on if you can catch me or not. there's no shame in running.
Last week, on January 1970, Georgia Championship Wrestling, I made a faux pas, so to speak, about Leo Garibaldi. I said he was on his way out. Well, that's what I read, but that's not the truth. Leo Garibaldi does not leave till the end of July of 1970. He is booking there to July 1970. We will see as we go forward in February, March, April, May, we'll see that there's some repetitive stuff going on within his booking that might have led to his being let go as booker. He does leave there and goes to work for Eddie Graham. It may not have been Eddie Graham yet in 1970. It may have been Cowboy Luther. I'm not for sure. I have not looked into that, but he does leave, and in December he stays there until he comes back to Atlanta in 1972, 73, somewhere around there. But Leo Garibaldi does continue there, and the Assassins do not become the bookers there. When he leaves, Buddy Fuller, Ray Gunkel, and the Assassins all together are taking care of their own stuff. And Ron and Robert Fuller is there as well. So I would venture to say they were taking care of their own stuff. I'm not for sure, since Buddy Fuller was the owner, or one of the owners of the company. Let's start right now then. It's February 1970, and we're going to start off. If you watched our January 1970, you'll see that Homer Odell had some problems with Paul DeMarco. And because of these problems they had with Homer Odell, he actually sold the contract to the Assassins. And they told him he could become a free agent if he agreed to pay them a fee to do so. Well, we'll find out. Evidently, he didn't have the money to pay that fee. Jack?
Friday, February 6, 1970, at the Atlanta City Auditorium, Les Wolf defeated Bill Kane. Fran Gravett defeated Vicky Williams. Ray Gunkel defeated Yasuki Fuji. Buddy Colt manager Homer Odell defeated the Spoiler. The Professional, Alberto Torres and Ramon Torres defeated Paul DeMarco, Assassin number 1 and number 2 by disqualification. Nick Bockwinkel defeated El Mongo.
All right, then we go to Saturday, February the 7th, 1970. We're back at the studios in Atlanta. It's Buddy Colt with his manager, Homer Odell, defeating Ramon Torres. Assassin number 2 defeated Salvatore Dominguez, and El Mongo defeated Assassin number 1 by disqualification.
I thought I'd go through some of these photographs real thick. Real thick. What the world's happening? Real fast. Paul DeMarco. Paul DeMarco is the person you see over there next to the Assassins, Jody Hamilton and Tom Ernesto as the Assassins. Also, here's a photograph of Vicky Williams, which was in that girl wrestler from Savannah, Georgia. And I'm guessing this is two different times in her life, because it looks like the other one, she's a little older during this time. And here is a picture of a very young Ann Gunkel and Ray Gunkel. This would be probably very soon before he passes away, this photograph right here. And here is, Homer Odell was there for a long time in Georgia. This is Buddy Colt, one of the greats. And here is Doug Gilbert. I think we talked about him last week and didn't really know what his name was. I think he is the Georgia heavyweight champion at this point. I think that's the Georgia heavyweight title that he's got, that they would eventually use the TV title. And there he is as the Professional. So occasionally Professional, occasionally Doug Gilbert. Love to do that. And there's the Assassins as well. And that is Ramon and Alberto Torres, which our father said they were very good. They were tremendous in the ring. And then here we go. Paul Jones and El Mongo. At this time, he was also the Georgia heavyweight champion as well. Now, where are we at?
To me.
All right, hey, go ahead. Then.
Yep. Friday, February 13th, 1970, at the Atlanta City Auditorium, Buddy Colt defeated Cisco Grimaldo. Ray Gunkel defeated Bill Kane. Les Wolf and El Mongo defeated the Blue Demons. The NWA Georgia television title match was Joe Scarpa versus Nick Bockwinkel, the champion, ended without a winner as a time limit draw at 45 minutes. The professional Alberto Torres and Ramon Torres defeated Paul DeMarco, Assassins 1 and 2, and the special referee in that match was Man Mountain Mike.
Now then we're back at the studios on February 14th, 1970. Nick Bockwinkel defeated Bill Kane as Les Wolf defeating Duke Savage. Assassin number 2 defeated the brilliant Jim Wilson and Alberto Torres versus Buddy Colt. And, of course, that was a time limit draw on television.
Friday, February 20th, Les Wolf versus Yasuki Fuji ended without a winner as a time limit draw, 15 minutes. Buddy Fuller defeated Buddy Colt by disqualification. Ray Gunkel defeated Shati. I don't even know. Yakoshi by disqualification. Joe Scarpa defeated Paul DeMarco. Nick Bockwinkel defeated Wilbur Snyder. NWA Tag Team title match featured El Mongo and the Professional as they defeated Assassins 1 and 2, the current champions, by disqualification.
The Assassins had vowed that if they lost the title to Gilbert and Longo, they would unmask in the ring following the match. The Assassins had initially been declared winners of the match, but when they attacked their opponents following the bell, the decision was reversed. Gilbert was reportedly injured during the chaos. The Snyder-Bockwinkel match ended with both men collided in the middle of the ring, and Snyder's hand landed across the chest of Bockwinkel, giving him the win when the referee counted to 3. Leo Garibaldi and Eddie Smith were credited as being referees for this card. The program for this card featured an advertisement for Marie's Restaurant of Mexican food owned by El Mongo, located at 4300 Buford Highway. It says if you go and mention this ad, you will receive a free 8x10 autographed photo of Mongo. The lunch specials were 99 cents.
I would have loved to went to Maria's Restaurant. I bet you that was some good food.
Yeah, but it was too.
We come up on Saturday, February the 21st, 1970. It's back at the TV. It's Nick Bockwinkel defeating Bob Armstrong. Les Wolf and the El Mongo defeated the Assassins by disqualification, and Buddy Colt defeated Tim Geohagen. It was announced that Jones was contemplating vacating the Georgia Heavyweight Championship as champion. Doug Gilbert was injured and was out of action indefinitely.
And Friday, September. Lord, I'm off. I'm completely off. February 27th, 1970. At the Sports Arena in Atlanta, Georgia, Al Perez versus Greg Peterson. Les Wolf versus Oki Shakina. El Mongo defeated Buddy Colt with manager Homer Odell by disqualification. The Torres brothers defeated Assassins 1 and 2, and Wilbur Snyder defeated Nick Bockwinkel.
The Snyder-Bockwinkel match was originally supposed to be the latter, challenging Doug Gilbert for the Georgia Heavyweight Championship. But with the champion injured, Snyder challenged Bockwinkel to a rematch. Charlie Harbin was credited as being the referee for this card. I hope in 1970 he was faster than he was in 1979. That would have been.
He was faster getting in the ring, but the counts were always slow.
Oh, there you go. Rodney, you talked about the Sports Arena. There they are. Friday, February 27th, 1970, they run the Sports Arena in Atlanta, Georgia. The program for this card mentioned that the fans have started a petition to have the Assassins removed as Georgia Tag Team Champions because of their actions in injuring Gilbert on February 20th, 1970. It urged fans to add their names to the list.
Well, okay. Saturday, February the 28th, 1970. We're back on television. It's Buddy Colt defeating Greg Peterson. Assassin number 2 defeated Mr. Fuji. It's El Mongo defeating Alex Perez. Assassin number 1 versus Les Wolf in a time limit draw on that one. It also announced that the Georgia Heavyweight Championship, of course, I think we had announced that. Now a tournament would begin on March the 6th for the Georgia Heavyweight Championship during that TV show.
We're going to see a couple other photographs. Joe Scarpa will eventually be Chief Jay Strongbow. Joe Scarpa right now drew a lot of money in Atlanta in the 1970s. Nick Bockwinkel, who would become later the AWA World Heavyweight Wrestling Champion, right now on this photograph's the Georgia Heavyweight Champion. Hey, somebody asked me a question, Ronnie, and I don't know if you remember this. What is that up above Georgia?
It's Georgia.
Well, I understand that. You see, it says Georgia. And
up above. I don't. It wasn't on there when we had the belt. We had it at the house. There was nothing above Georgia. It had Georgia, and then heavy is on one side, weight is on the other, and down below was champion. And then the state of Georgia was in the middle. And then we come up with the idea of putting TV right in the middle of that when they made that belt the Georgia Television Championship.
Here is a photograph of Doug Gilbert, the professional, and there you see Nick Bockwinkel against El Mongo.
Look at that illegal hold there by El Mongo. This man should have been disqualified. You talk about a petition to take the assassins out. This man right here, look at this. This is right here. We don't have any pictures of the assassins beating up that poor guy. But this right here, nobody's having a petition against him.
Man Mountain Mike. Picture of Man Mountain Mike right there. Did anybody ever see him wrestle?
I never did.
I don't think I did. I remember hearing his name, but I don't remember seeing him wrestle. Here is a Buddy Fuller and Ray Gunkel. I wonder how hard it was for them to take that photograph together.
Well, by the look on Buddy Fuller, pretty hard. Those look like some forced smiles if I've ever seen one.
Now Ray looks like he's pretty well happy, but Buddy doesn't look too happy in that photograph. And then we're going to see Bob Armstrong and Joe Scarpa. This would have been around the time. Both these photographs be around the same time this was going on. We will be looking at March 1970. And some changes occur, but when we get to April 1970, a lot of things you'll see a lot of things start to take place. And so that's February 1970, Georgia Championship Wrestling. All right. What is going on in the world of professional wrestling? I know that personally, we were told just recently that every one of our shows look exactly the same. We're a program that talks about wrestling. We're a podcast that talks about wrestling. But now we're being told that by the powers to be and where it needs to be powers, that we're our show looks the same. Well, I don't know. I don't care to tell you, but I watched Johnny Carson for many years, and his whole show always looked the same.
Yeah.
But, that's the way it goes. It's the way it goes today. Jack, what's going on in the world of professional wrestling in your world?
I've recovered from probably one of the worst independent shows I've ever seen from Saturday night. I will mention no names. Let's just say that I was tentatively going to be a part of this, but after seeing the product, even I cannot raise the dead. So, and as far as other news, we want to congratulate our friend, our great friend of the podcast, but just a tremendous influence in professional wrestling, Les Thatcher, on being inducted into the Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame in Iowa. That's coming up. Let's see when. Later this month. So congrats to Les. If you don't follow Les on Facebook, especially if you're inside wrestling. You should, because he's done it all 2 or 3 times and can teach you. And if you're a fan, he talks about some great historical stuff there too. Les just a tremendous asset to our industry and a great human being. Roll Tide, Les.
Rodney, what's going on in the world of professional wrestling on your side?
I know that many people are in mourning today over the fact that LaKnight did not win the Money in the Bank. I know you're heartbroken about that. But Booker T wants to send a message to you. Don't worry. Everything's going to be all right with LaKnight. Don't worry. Triple H has sent a message to all of those people so concerned. Don't worry. LaKnight's going to be okay. Even though they think they're trying to change his gimmick again. But that's beside the point. Don't worry, people. LaKnight will be okay.
Talking about,
If I've seen one story about LaKnight, I have seen, I don't know, 5 or 6 about, they're missing the boat. It's not, he wasn't even, if they're missing the boat, they think they're missing the boat. He wasn't even on TV the last 2 shows.
Did you hear that Booker T said that Dutch Mantel, he was an older wrestler and he should just keep his mouth shut, basically? Did y'all hear this?
No.
His rebuttal to Dutch Mantel? He should just keep his mouth shut because them old guys, them old territory guys, they don't know anything. What in the crap is that man talking about? Here's the thing. Dutch Mantel says in his deal that he got released, fired, left. It don't matter why he left WWE. He was gone. They weren't going to bring him back at that particular, or he didn't want to go back. So he goes to work for them. That's what Dutch said. Well, Booker T was even trying to fight that. Well, it don't matter why you was not there. You just was going, you wasn't in WWE, you went to work for, it don't matter why and how you got there. That's just, you just got there. So then he says that Dutch said he was difficult to deal with because he always wanted to change what was going on. And Booker T himself says he did that. But then he tells Dutch to stay quiet when he said he even admits to the fact that he did it. So Dutch wasn't wrong. So is Dutch the one that needs to shut up, or is it Booker T?
Booker wants him to be quiet because he keeps telling the truth about him. That's the problem.
I mean, come on now. Listen, Booker T, at some point you're going to be 70 years old. Do you want people in their 50s to tell you to shut up? Well, no, you don't.
Well, don't ask him.
Don't tell somebody with what Dutch has produced in this wrestling business since 1970. Don't tell him how bad he is in wrestling. He stayed in it for 40 years. How many years did you have in it? I mean, I'm not talking about sitting there doing what we do. Well, be prepared, because if the show looks the same, you'll be demonetized soon, so it won't matter. None of us will be on here anymore. All right. I'm sorry. That just tore me up to tell somebody just to be quiet.
But isn't that what they tell everybody? Isn't that what they tell everybody? Oh, Ronnie West, we don't want to hear from you anymore. Yeah. Bill Dundee, we don't want to hear from you anymore. You don't. Wrestling surpassed you now. You don't understand how it works. And when they're sitting in front of 20 people in a building and they don't understand, and especially with Booker T, who didn't lay out anything. He's never been in a management position. He's never really, has he really headlined a big show? Probably not. I'm not saying that he's not a great wrestler. I'm not saying that. I'm not taking that away from him. But now, if we want to take the same thing that he said to Dutch, well, Booker T's in the same position. He's not in the ring anymore. He's not going to be in the ring anymore. From what I understand, he's 60 years old. Is that correct? So he's not going to be in the ring again.
But here's the thing. What if let's turn the thing around, Booker T. Let's say, for instance, who's a young wrestler now? Who's a guy in his 20s now?
You're talking about the brilliant Austin Theory?
Austin Theory. Now, what if Austin Theory said that to you, Booker T? What would you say? No, this is what Booker T would say. Well, yeah, but I Spinny Rooney and made all kinds of money. I made more money than you did. I mean, that's what he would do. But he wanted to say that he disrespected Dutch and he owes Dutch an apology. Pure and simple. You need to get on there. You need to get on your show and apologize to Dutch Mantell about calling him old and he don't know what he's talking about. Dutch drew a lot of money in the wrestling business. Know your history, Booker T. You don't even know who Dutch Mantell is. Know your history. All right, I'm done getting. Booker T made me mad over that.
Our new kitty cat is trying to pull on my earpiece over here.
All right, go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to get into a rant about that, but goodness gracious sakes alive. I heard them people say the same thing. Ken Wayne and Danny Davis said the same thing about Wrestling 2 in 1987 when Wrestling 2 drew more money than ever. You could put Danny Davis, Ken Wayne together and put every match they ever had. They never drew the money Wrestling 2 drew. And I told him, I said, he's no different today than he was then. Put him with somebody that can draw money. He will still draw you money. I have never liked this because you're older. You don't have a place in the wrestling business or you don't have a place in any business. That's just bull crap.
If Kenny and Danny was put into the ring with people that were there specifically make them look bad, they wouldn't have got over either.
No.
And that's exactly what that was at the time. And we as we go back and know, the booker at the time didn't want him there. No. You know, wanted rid of him. And you know, I'm not sure why he gave him a job in the first place, but he did. Then he got him there and he treated him like garbage.
I mean, that's just
a total missed opportunity. A total missed opportunity. And then after, I think Brent told him that if you want to put him with somebody that will draw some money, put him with Jerry Stubbs and Dirty White Boy. You know, when somebody didn't show up and then Stubbs worked against 2 in a little spot show, they blew the doors off the place. The crowd that crowd was really into the match. Nobody was able to follow it after that. And the next day, 2 gets his notice.
Yeah. This was on a Thursday night in someplace in Alabama, like Nauvoo or something like that, in that area. And Friday night, Knoxville, Tennessee, they give him his notice. He got over, and they didn't want him over. And it's just that was the pure fact of the matter. And let me know. Let me just say this. I think Booker T's tremendous. I thought you was tremendous in the ring. Tremendous in the ring. I just do not like you disrespected the older wrestlers. I've heard it too much.
You're not, Brent. Let me just say this to you, and I want to say this to you right on behalf of Booker T. You do not have a right to say anything about him.
That's right. I'll probably be told
You should not have an opinion. Speaking of opinions, I don't know if anybody watched the Austin Theory Sheamus match from last SmackDown, but that thing was I hesitate to use the language that I was going to use there. I had to censor myself. But what in the world were they doing? Austin Theory, who I had a lot of respect for, but after this, I'm not sure what that was. He was trying to do the forearms in that Sheamus does, with in the chest. They looked awful, and then for whatever reason, now we're just laying our forearms on the people's backs now. I don't get what that is, and it happened repeatedly in that show I watched. And then everybody was talking about how great Grayson Waller was in his match. Well, you must have not been watching the same match I did. If I were you, I'd put him back to. They spent I don't know how long on the top rope. I bet you they's up there 20 seconds. Referee's just not doing anything. He's just waiting, and it was awful. That match was terrible. And Grayson, then all the internet intelligentsia is out there talking about, oh, how Grayson looked great in that match. No, quite frankly, no, he didn't look great in that match. It was awful. That was a whole new level of awful. Even with him and Austin Theory and Sheamus, that was terrible too. That was scrambled eggs if I've ever seen it. It was a Waffle House special.
It was really that match was shameful. Sheamus, shameful. Hey,
it looks like Sheamus looks like he might be just going through the motions.
Hey,
that could be too.
This is what I got to tell you. Between WWE, AEW, if you're going to do anything, just choose fun and go on the Carnival Cruise Line. Just choose fun.
For the price of a single front row ticket to a WWE event. You can be on an enjoyable cruise.
Yes, you can.
That is correct.
There's no doubt about that. Let's talk a little bit, Rodney. Let's talk a little bit about. Do people say that to Eric Bischoff? I got to ask you.
Yes, they do.
Do they say that to Eric Bischoff should be quiet? Do you know?
Yeah, I've heard it.
Mm-hmm.
He's been out of the business too long. He ruined WCW, which the reality is he did not.
No.
They fired him, then tried to bring him back, but the ship was already 3/4 under the water by then, and even he couldn't do that. Not saying he was, the second coming by any stretch of the imagination, but when he was in charge, it was a much, much better and better watched product.
Yes, he did a good, but I don't understand this ideal and this thought process that their way is the only way. We understand that there is a way that if you're going to have a certain wrestling company and you want that wrestling company to have a level about it, and so you want all the wrestlers to be able to do that type of wrestling, but for someone just to say, you just need to shut up and you don't know what you're talking about, I don't know. I think we could probably all agree that WWE is a very successful company. I don't think any of us is going to disagree. Financially, they're a very successful company. I don't know how successful they are when it comes to how many people watch the program, but they're successful money-wise. I don't even think AEW is successful money-wise. I mean, we wouldn't know because, we don't know the numbers.
Yeah.
But I would say it cost everything he has to produce that show. Will AEW, Jack, will they continue the Saturday show? Will that continue?
I think for the foreseeable future, just because they're locked into that deal, and I don't remember how long that is. I don't even know if I saw how long that is. But I would say they'll have a full season run, which with wrestling is a full year. So I don't know. I heard the numbers came up a little bit, but I didn't look them up this week.
Here's the problem. Even if they're doing five, let's say they even went up to 545,000 for this week, because I haven't checked on it as well. Let's say they did. How bad is that show going to be when college football starts at the end of August, I believe? How bad is that show going to do on a Saturday night against football?
I don't think they'll make it.
I
would see those numbers in the 200,000 range or even lower.
Well, Mr. Bischoff was trying to console Tony by saying, Tony, listen, don't worry. That was the 4th of July weekend. Nobody's watching anything at that time. Don't worry about that. Don't feel bad about that. That's Eric Bischoff. He's trying to help him.
He threw that olive branch out there.
Yes, he did. Don't be upset, Tony. It's not a reflection on your brilliant booking, not knowing that the 4th of July was coming up. I understand maybe sometimes you might not understand what the 4th of July is, and that is a national holiday here. Maybe you're not familiar with the holidays here in the United States, how they work. That could be. But the 4th, Eric said, don't worry about it. It was the 4th of July weekend. Those ratings, it didn't mean anything. Just never plan for that. No, it's not. No, it's not your fault, Tony. It's the 4th.
It's the people's fault for doing something during the week.
7-Eleven was open.
Hey, you do know at one point the wrestling companies would blame the wrestling fan for not understanding the product.
That's the way Hollywood's doing about the movies now. Do you hear what the director said about the Indiana Jones?
No,
the fans just don't understand it. They just can't comprehend to see the nuance of the movie.
I think the movie at this point has lost over $90 million. $90 million loss, while Sound of Freedom has made 20.
Well, I think Tony should go and watch the movie. He will see what it looks like to bury the hero.
Well, I saw
haven't seen it.
an editorial about the movies now, and how a lot of these sequels and stuff are not, coming up to par with the previous movies. And they said it's a very simple formula: is that filmmakers are making a film for a certain select group of people, and they're not engaging the audience and the real fans in general over what they're doing. So what it boils down to is the reason these movies aren't drawing is because they're not very good. and that, he said, that is the one principle that nobody understands, and we can directly apply that to wrestling. It's no different. If your numbers are stagnant, if they're going down, then you're not telling a good story out there. And what have we preached all of our lives? The story is what matters. But
well, speaking of that, Madison Square Garden show for SmackDown ratings were up on that particular week. And what was the main storyline? The Bloodline.
Yep.
Roman Reigns. And that basically is the only story, basically.
Well, and see, that's my point too, is that if you can, and it's brilliant. I don't think they've made a misstep along the way with any of it. I think it's all been brilliant. But if you can do one story that good, why can't you do multiple stories?
Well, have you noticed? And I'm not trying to, as you know, I'm not trying to be negative so that I'll get one of the wrestlers to knock me, saying that I shouldn't talk about it. But basically, aren't they doing the same thing with the Judgment Day? They're fighting amongst themselves now too.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you shouldn't be doing the same thing basically in both of them, to me. And then they were all, and then the internet intelligentsia was upset. Do they need to change the direction of the Bloodline? No, it's doing fine just like it is. Just leave it alone. It'll work. It'll work its way out, people. It'll work its way out. Well, is it okay, Booker T, that I said that?
When they finally set up, is Kevin Owens and that other guy still wrestling?
Yes.
Are they still the tag team champions?
Yes.
Well, when they finally set those guys up and they get in the ring with them inside a steel cage and they beat the crap all of them, beat the crap out of those two guys, the whole story will come into where it needed to go.
No, you've went too far. They'll never do that. I'm just here to tell you. They'll never do that.
I did not watch the main event last night. I did have Raw on for a little while.
Oh, there was supposedly a big old fight.
Big argument backstage about the main event, which was Owens and Zayn.
Yeah, six-man tag. Yeah, a big fight.
Yeah.
I don't believe any of that.
And of course, the report coming out now was, oh, well, the report of it was just overblown.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Oh, the I'm going to tell you, me and Jack were talking about that this week. The worst thing of trying to start a wrestling organization today is the internet. People read about what they believe that wrestling should be. They believe we have a group that believes that wrestling should be made just like Cobra Kai. And that only 10 weeks, just every 10 weeks you have matches. But the rest of the time you just tell the story like Cobra Kai tells it. Wasn't that done? And it was Lucha Underground?
Pretty much, yeah.
And it's gone. Didn't they kill people off? Didn't they kill people on Lucha Underground?
Yeah, they did, I believe. And it became so expensive to produce that they pulled the plug on it too.
It doesn't work in wrestling. And I think people don't understand. Tell the story. I want to produce a wrestling show that tells a story inside the ring. Nothing behind the scenes, not beating someone up in an interview, not tell the story inside the ring, because that's what you should be doing. And you know what? You tell good enough story, you can tell great stories inside there.
Being that they're being so successful, I'm sure that NFL this year will be doing a lot of behind the scenes fights in the dressing rooms between the teams. That works out so well with wrestling today. The ratings are just exploding, and I'm sure that they'll start that. The NBA will start having brawls in the possibly in the nightclubs and that kind of thing. It'd be great.
You think they'll jump somebody in the parking lot break right before the big all-star game that's going on right now, Major League Baseball? They're going to break somebody's hand that's supposed to be throwing the ball.
That's correct. That is right.
Mm-hmm. Man, sakes alive. You want to
kill them out?
Do too much that stuff, and that killed the territories off, by the way, the stupidity. And we're going to go through Georgia Championship.
Oh, by the way, I have to make this statement. I've got to make this statement too, as just a PSA, and I know some of the people may be offended, and so for those, you might want to tune out right now,
or at least report our YouTube channel.
Yeah, so that's right, and I'm sure that's really the problem that we have with YouTube is because someone is complaining about us, and I don't know who that would be, right, Tony? I like to say that for those of you who is surprised, and I know that some of you are, that Vince McMahon runs that show in the WWE. Shocked, I'm gonna let you into something. He owns the place, people, and when it's sold out, he's still going to be running the place because he's going to be a big wig in the next corporation. He's not going anywhere. The company belongs to him. It doesn't belong to Triple H. It doesn't belong to Nick Khan. It belongs to him. And so if he shows up and was calling the shots in the back, don't be shocked. It's his business.
That's right. All right, let's go.
And let's also point out that lots of people are saying, well, Vince is old. He can't last forever. Let's remember that his mother recently passed at around 100 years old. So genetics.
Well, they've always said, only the good die young. Evil lives forever.
At least he got rid of the mustache. At least he.
Oh, did he finally?
He cleaned up.
I think in the last video I saw, I don't think he had it. That could have been it on video, though. Good evening, everyone, from Richard Hood. Richard Hood sent me some spectacular stuff of the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes.
Great stuff.
All just magnificent stuff. Dusty Rhodes knew how to get over, no doubt about it. Let's see. Who sold GCW to Gunkel and Fuller? Don McIntyre sold his percentage to Gunkel. Don McIntyre did. So I'm gathering Don McIntyre sold or somebody. I don't know. I guess maybe even Ray Gunkel sold some of it to Buddy Fuller. I'm not for sure because the owners prior to this is Don McIntyre. Prior to 1970 or probably 1968 was Don McIntyre and Paul Jones. They were the only two people who owned portions of Georgia Championship Wrestling or whatever it was called at the time. When Don McIntyre decided to retire, he sold his part to Gunkel. Now, Paul Jones might have sold part of his to Buddy Fuller. There's a possibility of that. I'm not really sure how that happened because I don't know that Ray Gunkel would have sold his portion to somebody, but I don't know. Well, I'll look into that to see. But it's either Paul Jones or Don McIntyre that sold percentages to that.
Paul Jones, from what I remember, was there, and especially in Atlanta, right up till about 1980.
Jimmy James. I'm not going to read this because we're already in hot water with YouTube. All right. I'm just telling you, folks, we are not the most.
And I'm not sure. This is a very kind and loving and positive place. I'm not quite sure why that is.
So they don't like it. So I'm not even going to do that. That will just get us through. Hey, and by the way, if you're watching this and you are not a person on our Facebook page, a follower Facebook page, I'd get over there and do that because you'll lose this. If not, because you never know when they'll get mad and say, hey, we don't want you on here no more.
We've upset them again.
Right.
Tony's throwing another tantrum.
Not wrong in my personal opinion. So there you go.
That's right. Hello, everyone. Hope all is well from Victor Nash. Let's see. Jimmy James. Let's see. Mr. Hood. Hope all is well. Brian is with us. Brian McGee, Savannah, Georgia. Savannah, Georgia. You know,
Love.
Were you? Did you go to the WWE show when it was down there, Brian?
Kevin Finley says Rodney under a part-time contract. He never.
Well, I try to defend the title, but they always pull a no-show.
It's
Either they don't show up, or the ring doesn't. It's
he's
amazing.
on an ironclad contract, just like Hogan was, where he doesn't have to do anything he doesn't want to do. That's why the trash is never taken out of here.
Doug Masters is with us. Hello, gentlemen. Hey, watch out, Doug. That YouTube is after people, so be careful. Let's see. Jeremy, I don't even think he's on. Is he on YouTube or is he Facebook?
YouTube.
Did Ox Baker's heart punch really cause Ray Gunn goes dead? No, I don't think so. No, he wouldn't have hit him that hard anyway. You know, I mean, the guy was the owner of the territory. He certainly wasn't going to do.
Well, could have been. You don't know about the payoff, Brent, before.
But have you ever seen Ox Baker's punches? Do you really think he hit him hard?
He might have fell on him.
Gracious. He could have done that, but no, I think he was just. Listen, I truly believe Ray Gunkel's in the process of doing what Ann ended up doing anyway. I think it was in its process of doing. Ann just picked it up and went with it when they decided to do her wrong, and it worked out good for her. I mean, honestly, it worked out good for her. She made good money while she ran the wrestling. It drew good houses. It's not like she didn't draw, because she did. And both companies would draw. And there for a while, she was drawing better than the NWA was, because she had all the talent. But she's laugh all the way to the bank because she got paid for years.
And they got paid by Jim Barnett.
Yeah.
So, and that's right? Jim Barnett came to Georgia and bought her out.
Yeah, and they paid her a yearly amount of money every year for, I think, up till probably 1983, 84. I think she was paid until Barnett was gone. George Lambert said Maria's was delicious. Says we always ate there when we worked in Griffin. So there you go.
I wonder, I ate a Mexican restaurant when I was in Griffin. I wonder if that was the right one. I don't know.
Hasso said good evening, everyone.
Yes.
Rick Brooks, hello guys and everyone. Kevin Penley. There was a Soto, Roberto Soto. Was there another wrestling Soto? Yeah, Manuel, I think is his name.
Yeah, that's who he's talking about. I think he meant to say Manny.
Oh, I see that there.
Yeah,
I see there. It said many Sotos. With...
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
We've been drinking lemonade.
I remember Man Mountain Moore, mid-card. I don't remember that. Let's see. Does anyone have tapes from my live Atlanta wrestling from Channel 11? I doubt they would they? Because they didn't even have ways to, unless they had the reel-to-reel and they turned it on and taped it.
Yeah.
We could have had all the Infernos matches because Jimmy Dykes taped them all. So, it's. Let's see. Hasso, all of your shows are the same. Sounds good to me. Every one of them is the same as what they say. So I don't know. They all look the same as what they say. Jeremy Richter. Les is getting a special Gerald Briscoe Award. So he will, you know what that means then? He's going to be able to show everyone how to sell territories. That's how to get a territory.
He has a very special relationship with horses too, doesn't he?
Hey, you think about it. When you think about wrestling, the Briscoes were involved with a lot of stuff that went on in wrestling.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying in a bad way either. They were there to make money. I'm not knocking them. I'm just saying when there was something major that went on in wrestling, the Briscoes were there. And
I think that body shop was just a cover.
I think it was too. They were up to. You remember the story they told when Ernie Ladd beat them both up, and took. Actually, he thought about it after he did it, and he said, "Hey, well, these boys own a lot of territories there." And he actually puts them in the car and takes them to the hospital and puts them off into the. Well, to the defense, I believe that Ernie Ladd used the thumb. And did it. Let's see, Hasso. I'm sorry, I am a Dutch fan, but I'm having trouble remembering most of his of this stuff when listening to interviews before his podcast. I could be wrong. Oh, she's talking about Booker T. Is that what he's talking about? I'm sorry, I'm a Dutch fan, but I'm
sure.
having trouble remembering most of this stuff when listening to interviews before his podcast. I'm not for sure what he's saying there. You'll have to clarify that because I'm not for sure.
Well, all I know is Dutch had previous bear fighting experience.
That's right, he did.
He was an expert in bear fighting.
Dutch Mantel said one time, "If I was somebody else, I wouldn't like me."
And remember, Dutch was one of the better bookers in our history, but that goes back to the days of nobody knew what a booker was. And they didn't get on social media and talk about how good of a booker they were or anything like that. So
no, and Dutch Mantel even to this day doesn't talk about how great a booker was. No. He said that he would watch the matches, and that was the key to great booking, and that's the truth.
Yep.
You let the people figure out what they like. You don't figure out what's good. Let them figure it out. Then you push the guy that gets over. How about the Matt Hardy Cornette feud? There's a Matt Hardy Cornette feud.
Yeah, we're not interested in that. I'm just Kevin. It's they got into it about something. I've only heard Matt Hardy's jabs so far. I haven't heard Cornette respond yet, and he may have, but I just haven't seen anything.
George Lambert said Wayne Cowan has forgotten more about pro wrestling than Booker T will ever know.
No argument there.
Nope. Let's see what oh no, I think I see Al Sharpton coming our way.
Jimmy, you're gonna get us banned.
Yes, you are. You're gonna get us banned. We're already in trouble, buddy. We're already in trouble. I got the email. Was it last night? Was it yesterday I got it, Jack, or was it this morning?
This morning, I think.
Yeah, it was this morning, yeah. Hey, I'm close to Nauvoo. Don't tell anybody.
Walker County, Alabama. If it's illegal, it's for sale there.
All right, I'm not even going there, Jimmy. I can't even put your stuff on here. I'm sorry. I told you we're already in trouble.
We love you, man.
Yeah, but we cannot do any of that stuff. David Mullins, hi. Brian says, I disagree with Booker T. Dutch is one of the greatest minds ever in the business. Hey, I don't take nothing away from Booker T and his ability in the ring. I thought he was always great. Yeah. But to tell somebody that they're owed and the territory guys don't know what they're talking about, the territory's true. Ton of money was around for 50 years. Come on now. That's just disrespectful. Disrespectful. They're booking the movies for themselves, not the fans.
Exactly, and that's most of the wrestlers like that as well.
Years ago, it wasn't booked that way. Mm-hmm. For whatever reason, it did change in the late 80s. In the late 80s, the bookers was booking for themselves. Let me see. I'm gonna book myself on the main event so I can get the main event payoff, but I'm gonna work third match so I can go home.
Well, guaranteed money is what changed everybody.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that wrestlers and staff are making tremendous amounts of money. That's not what I'm saying, but where's the incentive?
Yeah.
You're going to get paid. In WWE, you got one or two options. One, you either outperform everybody around you to keep your job, or two, you just be real quiet and stay out of the limelight so they don't even know that you're still on the payroll. and I joke about that, but there's people that's been there for years like that.
There you go. I'll probably do that. Hey, Hasso said, I can almost see the future. Tony, no one is going to care about Georgia playing Alabama. You're booking Savant, and I'm sure Orange Cassidy throwing those shin kicks will bring everyone.
You run in Alabama against the University of Alabama playing football, if they're home, you take a chance. It's just according to who they play. But if they're playing Georgia or if they're playing Auburn, you better run Friday night.
Yes. Yeah, that was the good thing about the Continental Wrestling. When they would run on Friday night right before the Saturday football game, business was always good on Friday night. People would come in to go see the game, but they'd come to wrestling on Friday night, so it would be packed 6,000, 7,000 people in the Coliseum to watch wrestling. They were hot for it too. They were ready. Jack, I agree. The storyline is everything. Ernie Billings, give us the big thumbs up. Let's see. I think the NBA learned their lesson from the Malice in the Palace. I'm not for sure what that is. Jack, you have a clue what that is?
No, I haven't watched basketball since before I was born.
Ryan, I'm going to agree with you on what you said. I'm not going to put it. You can read it. I think you can read it. I think you can read the comments. What he's saying is true. But be very careful. We got to be very careful. We've upset
the powers that be.
Yeah, so I'm not even going to put that on there because boy, that will really get us going. throw us off of YouTube. I have a question about two wrestlers from the 70s or thereabout. Two of the longtime jobbers was the Champ Mask. Not for sure I know who that is. And Cisco Germando. Oki Shakina too. Oki Shakina was wrestling years later. I think he actually came to Mid-South Wrestling in 1983, didn't he?
I believe it was, or a person with the same name could be too.
Who was the champ? I have no clue who that was. I could probably go find
the Cisco we had mentioned on the Georgia Championship Wrestling show before. Oki Shakina too. The champ has not come up yet on any of the stuff that we've been doing.
Well, the challenger will come up soon. The masked challenger comes to Atlanta, and we will talk about who that is. Everyone will know, if you know wrestling history, you'll know who this guy is when we talk about him. And it's not Lynn Denton, so it's the challenger. Hustle!
So you would have a champ and then a challenger.
Yeah. They had a lot of masks in there to that point in time. I wonder if the rest of them took their mask off all the time, like old Doug Gilbert did. I think I've been on Facebook 3 times the last 4 years. How do I send a star? Is that on YouTube? How you send a star?
I think that's just for Facebook.
Yeah, I think it is Facebook. That's right.
He's on Facebook.
I think you just hit that button somehow. You just hit that button somehow. I don't know. I don't know that I've ever sent a star to anybody, but
it'll explain to you what you need to do once you hit it.
Just know at this point, folks, if you do want to send a star, we wasn't making a lot of money anyway, but we did get demonetized. So we were just paying for the restream.
They'll probably change their mind in a few years, and we won't get back pay.
But we did get demonetized on this program. Let's see. I mean, like I said, we wouldn't make a lot of money. It was paying for our restream that we're doing this show on and our editing program when we edit that stuff together. Let's see. I can spell, my keyboard can't.
I have the same problem.
Richard Hood and Gunkel started up a second All South Wrestling in '85. Yes, we actually talked to her back then. She wanted our father to go and work there and book the towns and stuff. But in 1985, I believe when she called, we were in Kansas City. I believe
Mid-South we were at that point.
Yeah, maybe Mid-South.
Mid-South, 84 or 85, and then sometimes in Continental at that point as well.
But wasn't she there till 87? Didn't she stay in business till 87?
Yeah, Bobby Simmons was doing the commentary for her.
Yeah. How would you rate Charlie Platt as announcer? I'm going to give him a number 1. For what he did in that territory, in that southeastern territory.
Yep.
Tremendous. He knew that audience. I like Gordon Soley, but he did not know that audience. He knew the Florida market. He knew the Georgia market, but he just didn't fit in that. I think Rick Stewart fit more than Gordon Soley did. in that place. Not even, you think about it, even Les Thatcher in the Alabama portion wasn't a Charlie Platt. Les Thatcher, tremendous, but Charlie just had something in that area that made him the guy that you needed in that position. He just had something there. And I'm not saying he could have went to Kansas City and people would have responded to him, but in Alabama, in that area, they did. What do y'all think?
I agree with that 100%.
He brought credibility to the show. And that's what we talked about when he was on the show last time. The way he approached the show, very serious. He wasn't trying to take the show over. He let the wrestlers shine, told the story, and as he said, I was having a conversation with the fans. That's how he approached it. That's how he did it. It was fantastic.
Yeah, he made sure it was real. He made it seem real. I finally figured out this YouTube stuff. Been watching your show still. Keep up the good work. Thank you very much. We're going to keep up the good work. We're just not going to be paid to we would never got paid much anyway. I'm just saying we wouldn't get nothing now. Hey, I meant his take about certain folks. He said he suddenly has heat with.
Well, that's because he's just Dutch. Now, Dutch was known to start stuff for no reason whatsoever, just to get people upset, from Austin Idol to whoever else. He would just start rumors. I mean, he said, let's start a rumor about somebody today and let's see how long it takes to get back to us. I mean, he was just he liked to stir the pot real good, and that's the reason I like him so much. Although I would never condone such things.
One thing that Dutch isn't is a liar. Now he might not know why somebody got fired or why they were gone or nothing like that, but he wasn't a liar. Now he will tell you exactly the way it is. He's always been that way.
And he never sugarcoated it. He'd tell you exactly the way it is.
Yeah. I thought y'all meant Dutch Savage. I remember Dutch Mantell when he was Wayne Cowan. He starts right there in Atlanta. Think about it. His first year in the wrestling business, he's in the main events. He's in the main events his first year in the wrestling business. Dutch story about how he booked Puerto Rico and
subsequently,
thank you, drove Eddie Gilbert crazy has always been one of my favorites. Yeah, that was so sad about Eddie Gilbert there. He really was. Let's see. Dutch gave that bear food, so we'd have a good match.
Let me tell you, Wendell Cooley was supposed to wrestle the bear, and he refused. He absolutely refused to do it. Tracy Smothers ended up wrestling, and then I think Dutch went out there because Dutch is the one that brought the bear in to take Cooley out because they wanted to do something different. They had been doing where the bear would come in against the heels, and this time Dutch thought it would be a good idea for me to bring the bear in against Wendell and run him out. And of course he did. If you think about it, he really did run him out because he wouldn't wrestle the bear, but then Tracy Smothers got in there. It was pretty decent.
Yeah. And Tracy was able to really take the bear down. He was able to do so several times.
They warned him. You get rough with her. The more you get rough with her, the more she'll get back with you. And she did.
Kevin Penley, Jack knows us well. That was the last time when they hit the bear. That was the last time the bear was ever used in Alabama.
Well, we had some complaints.
Yes. Felt like being on YouTube.
We had some complaints.
There's always been problems in the wrestling business. There's always been somebody a little upset about something. Mickey Mayfield, Thunderbolt versus Ernie Ladd was always a great.
Yeah.
Yes. Richard Hood, Dutch booked in Florida and Puerto Rico. Didn't have as much success in Florida, but wasn't his fault. It was just a bad. Just a bad.
We're not gonna mention anything about before Dutch got there or names of people who were there before Dutch got there. We'll just not go there because it might upset YouTube. That could be who's complaining.
I say I love you boys too. It's just we all make our choices for our own reasons.
Amen.
Jeff Dobbs, I saw a local show this weekend. Got to sit by
Yeah. Well, we won't say the R word, but from the Howard Stern show. Don't know how he was a wrestling fan. Yeah, a big wrestling fan.
Well, you people just working.
I mean, it's not wrong. That's exactly what they called the guy. And I know Jeff didn't mean that in any kind of derogatory way. He's just identifying what the guy goes by.
But you know what? Today they just get so people just get too upset over things.
Yeah.
Too sensitive in this world today. See, we don't care. We've had people talk bad about us. Whoopie dee doo. We don't care. Because we probably, between the three of us, have done it to each other. So it doesn't hurt our feelings. And
yeah, I woke up this morning deciding that nobody was going to tell me how to live my life.
Who was a better female promoter, Dixie Carter and Gunkel?
Oh, he's funny. He's trying to be funny again.
And Gunkel, ain't no way. Harry Stewart said, this won't all go on there. That's the reason I ain't putting it on there. It won't all fit. I remember one match where someone twisted the challenger's mask and he took it off, did a flip, pinned the guy, rolled out with the face covering, and put his mask on. I also remember a few years later when the challenger dumped ashes on a woman's car when he left the TV tapings and the owner went crazy. Well, Rodney, Freddie Miller also announced in 1985 for
Richard, what station were they on? I don't remember what station they were on.
Also, Charlie Platt was very, very underrated. The thing I think is he's had relatability like Bruno in New York that goes a long way. I agree with it. I do agree. He did relate with the people. You guys think you can get Kenny Bolin on the show? No, we'll just completely get rid of us on this program.
Yeah.
I don't even know who Kenny. I know Kenny Bolin, but I don't know. Have y'all ever met Kenny Bolin? Any of y'all?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I've ever met the man. If I have, I don't remember meeting him. Mm-hmm. This crazy thing, he is worth $13 million. He's a really nice guy. Who's worth $13 million?
It ain't us.
No.
Maybe they're referring to Kenny. Maybe they're calling him Kenny. I don't know.
He said it's Channel 36, Rodney.
Channel 36. Okay.
36.
Because eventually, Richard, does that where Pedicino takes over?
Is that where he does the 22 hours of wrestling?
22 hours, and I think he does something with Southern. Does he not run with Blackwell and with at that time later on in that same time slot?
Hey, talking about that, while he's asking that question, you remember, Rodney, when they did the Bob Armstrong was going to get somebody. I can't remember who was in the main event. And they had that the funniest man in the world, James Gregory, a special guest referee.
No, I missed that match.
Well, I did not know who James Gregory was at the time. And I asked the question. I was back there. I don't know what I was doing back there, probably giving some money to somebody. And I said, well, who in the world cares? Who cares if a James Gregory, I'm the funniest man I've never heard of you. How can you be the funniest man in the world when I've never even heard of you? 17-year-old young punk and didn't even know who he was. So years later, I saw him at the Comedy Catch in Chattanooga. And I went up to him. I went to his show. I went up to him afterwards. I said, do you remember this young kid coming up to you? And he said, oh, yeah, I do remember that. Well, I said, I want to apologize for that rude behavior that I did to you back in Marietta, Georgia, Cobb County Civic Center when you were special guest referee. Loved wrestling the business. He loved James Gregory.
He and Ted Allen, I think, went to school together, maybe something. They had a long-term friendship because I met him. Rodney was there when they did the Ted Allen Memorial Show. Weren't you there with your dad?
Yes.
And he was there, doing an appearance in support of that. And I thought that was really nice. And he was just really, really nice to everybody.
I remember
Uh,
said I could understand Eddie Murphy being a special guest referee. Why would you? I don't know. I was so mean. I was a mean 17-year-old. I'm telling you right now. No wonder most people hated me there. All right, Jack. Anything we need to talk about before we leave?
Yeah, I think we've covered everything.
Go ahead, Rod.
Jeff was talking about Gary the Reject, or we're going to call him on here. Has $13 million.
Does he really?
Yeah, that's what Gary the Reject does.
How did he get $13 million?
He's been on that show forever, I'm assuming.
Also said Kenny Bolin is a pretty nice guy, though. You deny it. Would world-class Kay Faber and Lance Storm has said the wrestling industry needs another one like him, and that scares me. Rodney, any final comments before we leave?
Yes, Jeff Jarrett wanted to let everybody know that AEW has a language policy that's been set down by Warner Discovery, and he just wanted to make sure that everybody, now there's certain words that they allow them to say, but there is a policy that they've set down, and they violate that, they'll be in trouble. He wanted to make sure everybody know that. Why, I don't know, but he was very clear about that he was making sure that everybody understood that AEW does have to,
I
have a language policy.
A clip of MJF cussing while he was being given all these big finishing moves that doesn't finish anybody. So I'm wondering if that was all before this, or those are all the words that are acceptable, because man, I'm telling you.
The only words that they don't want to hear is low ratings. That's the only ones they don't want to hear. All right, Rodney, anything else?
Oh, yes. Our good friend Dave Meltzer. He is such a brilliant man, knows all about wrestling. He knew, absolutely knew that CM Punk would be wrestling, but he just didn't think it was going to be an AEW. I got some news for you. Ray Charles could see that he's going back there. He wasn't going anywhere else. Only you, Meltzer, only the one that thought that CM Punk wasn't going back there. Only you.
They're putting him in 6-man tags because they're afraid that he's going to get hurt again.
Listen, here's my idea. Let's put Vince Russo and this guy in a room together and lock the door and just forget about him.
That's true.
Thank you so much for being a part of Pro Wrestling.
One more thing.
Okay.
I got one more thing. What in the world? Apparently, these odds makers, someone at WWE somehow tipped off the odds maker about the special surprise at Money in the Bank. Now, I'm not sure about you, but that's a good way of getting yourself thrown in prison.
Somebody's going to go to prison for that, so they might as well just get ready for that. We're going to hear about that. They're going to be Pete Rose. That thing's going to be very
up in your face. Yeah, I saw that, and I thought, you talk about something that's the end of the business, that could be the end of your business right there.
Thank you so much for being a part of Pro Wrestling Inside Out. If you're watching on YouTube, you've not went to our Facebook page and follow us there. It's put Pro Wrestling Inside Out on Facebook. It'll come up. We've been there for almost 3.5 years, 4 years. It'll come up. Something will come up. Follow us on there, because you never know in this world whether or not we'll be here. We are going to work on something else as well, so we have a backup from that as well, because you never know what's going to happen in this world we're living in right now. Thank you so much for being a part of Pro Wrestling Inside and Out. And next week we'll see who we can make mad, because now we're not monetized, so we're just going to just open season.
Have a new mission in life.
That's right. And that mission, for those people who must not have liked us and gave some telephone calls and some emails, well, you're really going to, because we're just going to go after it now.
Wait a minute. Now, all three of my pets have debuted tonight.
Thank y'all so much, and we do appreciate it. And we'll see everybody next week right here on Pro Wrestling Inside Now.